Have you ever noticed how the most anxious people you know are often the ones trying hardest to control everything? They plan meticulously, prepare for every scenario, yet somehow remain perpetually stressed. Meanwhile, there's that friend who seems to roll with the punches, adapting to whatever life throws their way, and they appear strangely at peace. What if I told you that accepting uncertainty isn't just a coping strategy, but actually a fundamental requirement for living a full life? Let me take you back to the year 1859, when Charles Darwin published his groundbreaking work on evolution. One of his most profound insights was that survival doesn't favor the strongest or the smartest, it favors the most adaptable. The species that survived mass extinctions weren't the ones with the most elaborate plans. They were the ones that could handle not knowing what was coming next. This biological truth extends to our psychological lives in ways we rarely acknowledge. Consider the dinosaurs, who dominated Earth for over 160 million years, yet couldn't adapt when conditions changed suddenly. Meanwhile, small mammals that lived with constant uncertainty survived and eventually thrived. The human brain evolved to detect patterns and predict outcomes. It's a survival mechanism that served our ancestors well when they needed to remember which berries were poisonous or recognize the sound of an approaching predator. But here's the catch. This same mechanism makes us deeply uncomfortable with uncertainty. Our brains interpret unpredictability as danger, even when there's no real threat present. This is why not knowing what's happening can feel more stressful than knowing something bad is definitely going to happen. Your amygdala, the fear center of your brain, cannot distinguish between the uncertainty of waiting for medical test results and the uncertainty of hearing a rustling in the bushes that might be a tiger. To your ancient brain, all uncertainty signals potential danger. Let's look at a classic psychology experiment from the 1960s. Researchers gave participants electric shocks at random intervals. Some participants were warned before each shock, while others received no warning at all. Surprisingly, those who received random, unexpected shocks reported less stress than those who were constantly anticipating the next one. The uncertainty itself was less painful than the constant dread. This counterintuitive finding reveals something crucial. Our attempts to eliminate uncertainty often create more suffering than the uncertainty itself. The participants who knew a shock was coming spent their mental energy in a state of prolonged anxiety, while those who didn't know could at least experience moments of relief between shocks. Think about your own life for a moment. How much time do you spend worrying about things that haven't happened yet? Planning conversations that may never occur, rehearsing responses to criticisms you haven't received, imagining worst-case scenarios that never materialize. This mental time travel is our brain's attempt to control uncertainty by preparing for every possibility. But there's a cruel irony here. The more we try to predict and control the future, the less present we are in the only moment we actually have power over right now. Studies suggest that the average person spends nearly half their waking hours thinking about something other than what they're currently doing, and this mind-wandering typically makes them less happy, not more prepared. Ancient philosophers understood this deeply. The Stoics of Greece and Rome built an entire philosophy around accepting what they called the dichotomy of control. Some things are up to us, like our thoughts, actions, and responses. Other things are not up to us, like other people's opinions, natural disasters, or the outcomes of our efforts. The Stoic solution wasn't to stop planning or stop trying, it was to invest energy only in what you can control, and accept everything else with equanimity. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who wrote his famous Meditations, faced constant uncertainty, wars, plagues, betrayals. Yet his writings reveal someone at peace because he stopped fighting against the fundamental nature of reality. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Let's bring this into the modern context. Consider the most successful entrepreneurs, artists, and innovators. What do they have common? It's not that they have more certainty than the rest of us. If anything, They face more uncertainty because they're constantly venturing into unknown territory. What they possess is a different relationship with that uncertainty. They've learned to see it not as a threat to eliminate, but as the very space where creativity and opportunity exist. Think of how many groundbreaking inventions came from accidents and unexpected results. Penicillin was discovered because a scientist noticed mold growing where it shouldn't. The microwave oven was invented when an engineer noticed a chocolate bar melting in his pocket near radar equipment. Here's a practical example. Imagine you're about to give an important presentation. You could spend hours trying to anticipate every possible question, rehearsing responses until they're perfect, attempting to eliminate every variable. Or, you could prepare the core content thoroughly, then trust yourself to handle whatever emerges. Which approach sounds more exhausting? Which one allows for authentic connection with your audience? The paradox is that accepting you can't control everything often leads to better outcomes than trying to control everything. Uncertainty is also where growth happens. Think about learning a new skill. If you already knew exactly how it would go, what challenges you'd face, and how you'd overcome them, would you really be learning? Growth requires stepping into the unknown, making mistakes, discovering capabilities you didn't know you had. Every person you admire got to where they are by repeatedly choosing uncertainty over comfort. They didn't wait until the path was clear. They started walking and created the path by walking. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Some people face genuine uncertainty that isn't philosophical or abstract. Financial insecurity, health crises, unstable relationships, these create real uncertainty that causes real suffering. I'm not suggesting we should simply accept injustice or stop working to create stability in our lives. But even in difficult circumstances, there's a difference between doing what we can to improve our situation and torturing ourselves over what we cannot control. This distinction is crucial for mental health. Research on anxiety disorders reveals that people with chronic anxiety typically have one thing in common: an inability to tolerate uncertainty. They need to know, to be sure, to have guarantees. Effective therapy for anxiety often involves gradually increasing someone's tolerance for not knowing. It's like building a muscle. You start with small uncertainties and slowly work up to larger ones. The goal isn't to eliminate anxiety. It's to change your relationship with uncertainty itself. Here's something fascinating. Cultures differ dramatically in their relationship with uncertainty. Some societies prioritize stability, tradition, and clear rules. Others embrace ambiguity, flexibility, and change. Neither approach is inherently better, but it shows that how we relate to uncertainty is largely learned, not hardwired. If it's learned, it can be relearned. So what does acceptance of uncertainty actually look like in practice? It's not passive resignation or reckless abandon. It's making plans while holding them loosely. It's doing your best while accepting that outcomes depend on factors beyond your control. It's investing in relationships knowing they might end. It's building a career aware that industries change. It's loving deeply despite the certainty of loss. This kind of acceptance doesn't diminish life, it enriches it. It allows you to fully engage with the present moment because you're not constantly defending against an unknowable future. Consider this perspective shift. What if uncertainty isn't a bug in the system of life, but the essential feature that makes life worth living? A movie where you know every plot point would be boring. A game where every outcome is predetermined would be pointless. A relationship with no surprises would be stale. The very things that make life meaningful, love, adventure, discovery, creativity, all require uncertainty. To wish for a life without uncertainty is to wish for a life without possibility. Even our greatest joys are uncertain. You cannot guarantee that a sunset will move you, that a song will give you chills, or that a conversation will spark a lifelong friendship. The magic lies precisely in not knowing. The next time you feel that familiar anxiety about the unknown, try this simple practice. Notice the feeling without judgment. Acknowledge that your brain is doing what it evolved to do, trying to protect you from perceived danger. Then remind yourself, uncertainty is not the enemy, it's the canvas on which your life is painted. The most beautiful art emerges not from total control, but from the interplay between intention and accident, plan and improvisation, knowledge and mystery. We spend so much energy trying to write the script of our lives in advance, but life has always been more improvisation than recitation. The peace you're seeking won't come from finally achieving certainty, it will come from learning to dance with uncertainty. And here's the beautiful truth. Once you stop fighting it, uncertainty becomes not a burden to carry, but a doorway to walk through into a life more vivid and alive than any perfectly planned existence could ever be.